Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show and our Monday night roundup. Delighted to say I am joined by Lewis Sale and Gareth Walker to get us started. Stephen Downs will be joining us a little bit later on to talk all things Huddersfield City. And Stephen Brownie, he will be here as well a little bit later on to talk all things Leeds United. But starting off with you guys, how are we both doing?
Oh, good night, yourselves.
Right, yeah, not too bad at all. I mean, let's start with Gaz, and actually, I'm sorry, Lou, this probably should have been the 1 week when Gaz gets to go on the top row, because for
move him, let him have that top row. Let's do it. There we go.
I mean, for Bradford,
I'm having a nosebleed now.
Just like City. Sorry.
Hey, we should be top. I'm going to come on to that. We should be top, like you well know.
I do.
Let's just start by kind of looking back at the weekend that was, and obviously for Carlisle United, it's because of the last couple of years or so become quite a big game, I think, for the fans on both sides. Whether it's a meaningful rivalry, shall we say, or not, is up for debate. But between the fans, there seems to be something for it. Obviously, Carlisle brought a lot down. I think it was over 2,000, if I'm right in thinking, that were at my parade from Carlisle.
1,700.
Put it this way, I drove through Keighley on Saturday, and there was 2 coach loads at Toby Carvery. Now, what that says about Carlisle fans, I mean, I'm not quite sure they were all there for a Carvery before the match, but hey, I wouldn't judge, to be fair.
They know how to treat themselves, don't they?
Hey, I will not have a bad word said about a Carvery. It was a good afternoon in the end for Bradford City, and look, a 2-1 victory over. It is a strong Carlisle side on paper, even if they're not playing like it.
Yeah, you're right. There is a little bit of needle there from the playoffs a couple of years ago. I've got a good friend who's a Carlisle fan. He's not season ticket holder at the moment, but his dad is, and he was telling me how basically Carlisle the fans are just really desperate for a rivalry with anybody because they've not really got anybody close.
I was going to say, geographically, it'll be what? Barrow?
Yeah, it is Barrow. That is it. But
Penrith, if they draw them in the cup.
Yeah, they'll force one with anybody, and obviously we've had a few since we've dropped down the leagues, Rotherham, etc., where we've had various rivalries over the years. But yeah, it has become a bit needly after the playoffs. I believe that I think there were 1,700 Carlisle fans there. A bit of aggro I heard on Manningham Lane before the game, mainly just verbals that police were just sort of separating the two fans, but nothing serious. And it was a feisty game, good atmosphere. And as Jamie Rayner said on our special that we did last week, Chris, it was quite important to City to get a win because it feels like it could be a big point in the season, gets the fans on side. And it also, as I was saying, stops us from entering into a winless run, which was a problem last season where we'd get on a winless run and wouldn't win for a few games. Obviously, we were poor at Grimsby in our last league game, and then we played Newcastle under-21s and should have beaten them, but threw the game away really with a poorly timed challenge that resulted in a goal from a free kick and then lost on penalties. So, yeah, it was good to bounce back. I thought we started the game really, really well. First half, we were the better side, deservedly took the lead after 2 minutes. Although it was early, we went on to half-time.
I was about to say, is that possible? Is it possible to deserve to take the lead that early in a game?
Yeah, it probably wasn't that we deserved it at the time, but as the half wore on, we deserved to be in front at half-time.
You capitalised on a mistake, though, didn't you, in a half?
Yeah, they were playing it out from the back. Harry Lewis gave the ball to their centre-half. Can't think of his name off the top of my head.
Mellish?
John Mellish.
Who is a good player, usually.
Really good, really bit of a fan's favourite at Carlisle. But yeah, he miscontrolled the ball. Jamie Walker put him under pressure, nicked it off him and then laid it across to Cook. And Cook's made no mistake. And it was good for Cook to score against Carlisle because I believe it was the only one of his former teams he'd never scored against. They released him as a 17-year-old. So they've always given him a bit of stick. Obviously, the chant that City fans have is gets the ball, scores a goal. Carlisle fans chant after the playoffs, the fireworks kept him up. They deliberately apparently tried to keep the City team awake before the playoff second leg. So yeah, it was a good start. 1-0 up at half-time. Second half, Carlisle improved, to be fair to him. Dominated the ball second half, dominated the territory. Had a couple of chances that were well saved by Sam Walker, but then Sam Walker's made an error for their equaliser. where he's basically dropped the ball in his own net, and it's harsh because he's been really good since he signed for us, and he made a couple, like I said, good saves in that second half before then. And you just thought, oh no, here we go, we're going to lose. But we bounced back, and if you've seen the second goal, it's a really good header from Andy Cook back across the keeper. Harry Lewis gets a hand to it, but can't keep it out. Like I said, that lifted the atmosphere again. It was good for Tyreek Wright because Tyreek Wright put the cross in for the second goal, but he'd had a bit of a torrid afternoon up to that point. I thought he'd struggled, particularly defensively. And then, like I say, it was good for Sam Walker. Sam Walker's there's a bit of post-match clip of Sam Walker saying thank the world for Andy Cook, and you can have these gloves to a kid because they don't work, and obviously feeling relieved. And it was interesting that he was the one that made the mistake for the Carlisle goal, because the way Harry Lewis has performed at Carlisle since going up there, he's been a bit prone to errors by all accounts. And I think City fans were kind of hoping he'd have another one on Saturday for us, but he actually played reasonably well, did Harry Lewis, and it was Sam Walker that made the mistake. So, yeah, good to get a win. Good to avoid a winless run, and good to be fifth in the league. And as I was saying at the start, really, we should be top of the league. We should be joint top with Donny. That goal that crossed the line at against Salford that wasn't given, that's going to haunt me all season, especially if we miss out on, say, playoffs or automatics by 2 points. That's going to be a big thing come the end of the season.
It's not just you it's going to haunt, mate. It's going to be us as well, listening to you say it every week until now, until the end of the season.
We'd be top of the league. We've had one bad performance all season, and that was Grimsby, in the last league game. And, because City fans like to complain, but we can't really complain because that has been the one bad performance, and we look like we've put it right straight away. We did all the basics right on Saturday, which we didn't do at Grimsby.
On the rivalries front, Ian's been in touch, a regular watcher. He says, back in the day, our rivalries were with Avenue and Barnsley. That's the 60s and before. I mean, I don't even think Gaz is quite old enough to remember those periods.
It was Huddersfield for me. In the 90s, it was Huddersfield everywhere. Every year we played them.
Big hello as well to Ryan. It says, evening all, and Spurge too. Don't forget, you can get your comments in. The easiest way to do so is on YouTube. So, City fans, if you've got any more comments on the Carlisle game, do get in touch. YouTube, as I say, is the easiest way to do it. Just search for the West Yorkshire Football Show. You mentioned Tyreek Wright, and he had a bit of a tricky time of it. Obviously, in that kind of left wing back role, how has he started over the course of the season in that particular role? Not just on Saturday, but before as well, because I remember when he signed, you were a little bit like, if he's shoehorning him in at left wing back, he'll be fine going forward, but there will be defensive frailties.
Yeah, I think he's done all right up before Saturday. I think he's been all right. Some fans have criticised him and said he struggled, but I think that's more personally. I think that's a preconceived idea that they had before the season started, that he would struggle, and they're kind of looking for mistakes and sticking to that. I think up until Saturday, he'd done okay. Saturday he did struggle defensively, and the worry is that teams will pinpoint him now and look for him defensively and target him defensively. But going forward, he's going to be a problem. He's learning the role. He's got to learn that defensive role. I would like to see him take the man on a little bit, take the fullback on a little bit, but I'm kind of thinking that sometimes he might not want to do that in case he loses the ball and gets caught out defensively. Yeah, the worry is that he will struggle defensively, and fans have said he has been. But like I say, I only thought he did I thought Saturday was the first time I noticed it where he struggled a little bit. But then he redeemed himself, and he put a great first-time ball in for Cook's second goal. So that's what he's going to give you. There probably are going to be times when he'll struggle. There will be times when we'd look more balanced with a proper left wing-back, maybe a Lewis Richards there. But he's going to be first choice. And at home, when you're attacking the Kop, he could prove useful in that role because he will get at the fullback and he will put crosses in like he did on Saturday.
2 goals, obviously, on Saturday for Andy Cook. And, that takes him not too far off some pretty reputable names in Bradford City folklore and history in the all-time scorers chart. I think we said that he's 8th as it stands, but he's only 4 goals away from joint 5th and, 25 or so away from potentially being the second highest scorer in Bradford City history.
Yeah, I'm just trying to bring it up on my phone now. Yeah, he is 8th. He's got 75 goals for the club. There are 3 people who've got 79 goals to the club.
Go on, run us through him.
So he's 4 behind them. Those 3 are John Hallows, Joe Cook, hero of my dad's Joe Cook, and Sean McCarthy, who was the leading striker when I first started following City, early 90s. So you would expect him to get the 4 or the 5 to go past them this season. Then it's Windass in fourth with 87. You would imagine he's got Cookie's here for this season and next season at least. So you would hope that injuries permitting, he would go past Windass on 87. James Hansen in third on 91. You would hope that he'd go past him.
Yeah.
At 16, he needs to equal Hansen. Frank O'Rourke is in second on 93. That's a wartime striker. He's in second, so he needs 18 to equal Frank O'Rourke. 19 to go past him. I would hope over the next 2 years he would possibly get up to 100. That'd be 25 more goals over the next 2 years. If he gets up to 100 and breaks the 100 barrier, the only person in front of him is Bobby Campbell, 80s legend at City, top goal scorer, 143 goals. I don't think anyone's going to catch him. That's a phenomenal record because he only played for the club for 6.5 years and had a little break in that when he went to Derby for 6 months. But yeah, 143 goals in 6.5, 7 years. That's 20 goals a season for 7 years. I can't see anyone catching him in today's day and age because if they do get anywhere on that, on that kind of ratio, that they're going to be picked off and go to a bigger club. So yeah, hopefully in the next 2 years he will get up to second and break the 100 barrier.
How does he compare and rank, do you reckon, against the, should we go in modern day legends that are on that list, in particular Hansen and Windass?
Well, Windass did it at a higher level. Windass scored goals for us in the Prem, the Championship, and League One over 2 spells. I would say Cookie, at the level we're playing at, it's hard to argue that there's anyone better in League Two. I can't think of a better striker in League Two. City fans wanted Charlie Wyke in the summer. There was only one winner in the Battle of the Strikers on Saturday because Charlie Wyke he hit the post and he put one wide, but I believe he's not scored yet for Carlisle. And that's got to be worrying for them, considering the money that he'll be on. You've got Billy Sharp in League Two as well, who's knocking on. I don't know how old he is now, but you'd say late 30s. So he's got to be considered. But is he going to last a full season? Let's wait and see. Regarding City strikers, I would say Cook has carried the burden on his own at City in League Two for 2 or 3 years. Hansen obviously was up there as the battering ram. They played second fiddle to Naki Wells 10 years ago, but was a real problem and a real asset to Phil Parkinson's sides, a hero because of the cup runs that we had and the promotion that we had. If Cookie can add a promotion to his CV, you've got to put him up there with Hansen. He's probably a better all-round striker than James Hansen. Hansen did a job in a team that he was required to do, like I say, partner for Naki Wells and proper battering ram for Phil Parkinson. And I was a huge fan of James Hansen. He used to get lots of stick, and probably because of where he'd come from, working at the co-op and all that. But I was a huge fan. As an all-round striker, probably Cookie's the better one, but he's got a way to go to catch him in those striking lists. And I would like him to do it. Like I said, I'd love him to break the 100 barrier. Like I say, he should go past Sean McCarthy, Dean Windass and Hansen, who are the 3 that I've seen. And at that list, Bobby Campbell was a little bit before my time. So yeah, let's hope he can do it. If he stays fit, he's got a good chance. He's becoming, they throw the word legend about, but in the last sort of few years, he's heading that way. And like I say, if he can get a promotion on his CV with us, tops it all off for him.
Ian mentions Peter Thorne. Now that name rings a really strong bell from my youth. I mean, you might be able to tell me out an era of this one. Does it sound familiar for you guys? Was it before yours? I think that's quite definitely not recent, but
I remember Peter Thorne.
I remember Peter Thorne.
Peter Thorne was at Stoke and Cardiff and Norwich in the sort of late 90s to mid 2000. He came to us at the end of his career from Norwich.
I think that's where I remember him then. All right, I think that mid 2000 that had been in my teenage years.
Yeah, Stoke and Cardiff. He was prolific. Struggled a bit at Norwich with injuries. Didn't do but score many for them at all, if I remember rightly. And sort of came to us when McCall was in his first spell as manager.
Yes,
he'd had a lot of injuries at Norwich, and he did 2 years where he was our top scorer, I think, which was really good for us because obviously he'd come off the back of a long-term injury at Norwich where he'd hardly played. 2 years when he was brilliant for us, really, and carried the can up front with us for trying to get us out of League Two under McCall, which we failed to do 2 or 3 years on the trot. The third year was maybe a stretch too far for him. Injuries started to catch up with him again. He had various striking partners in Barry Conlon, Michael Boulding.
I was just thinking, if I played against Lincoln, there's like the first game, like Lincoln games that I went to at Valley Parade. I'm just thinking he would have been in those Bradford sides, actually, come to think of it. And I always remember there was a 2-1 Bradford win that I remember going. I think it was the first one of the first meetings at Valley Parade after the fire. Actually, that was the length of time it had been for the two sides to meet in the league. And I've got a feeling that he would have played in that because I certainly remember Barry Conlon scoring a bloody winner for City to win it 2-1.
I remember commentating. Sorry, guys. I remember commentating Lincoln City and Peter Ford and Michael Balding. Omar Daly, that team. I was commentating that group. Yeah.
Wow.
That would have been around, I'm guessing, 2008-ish. I'm thinking around that sort of
time.
Yeah,
let's just call it 4 years ago, guys, because that seems too far long ago, does that?
If I remember right, if it's the game I'm thinking of, Chris, I think that Conlon goal might have been in the last minute. It was
mate, it was. I was in the sort of the spice rack, and it was an absolute bloody heartbreaker. I'm going to quickly Google it now. I was just talking amongst yourselves, lads.
But yeah, Peter Thorne was brilliant for us for a couple of years. Like I say, around that sort of time, 2007 to 2009, the third year, as I say, maybe a stretch for him. Injuries caught with him. I believe he's well into his surfing, and he was wanted at one point. I think they asked him if he'd come back as a bit of a striking coach, and he was happy on the beach doing his surfing. So fair play to him. Yeah, he did really well for us.
It was Boxing Day 2007.
Yeah,
is when it was.
2007, 2008.
Boxing Day 2007. I know we've digressed. Of course we have. I'm presenting the show. But it was a 91st minute winner from Barry Conlon. Let's see who scored. In fact, you scored, for crying out loud. Peter Thorne scored in the first minute of the game, and Barry Conlon scored in the 91st. We've got the Lincoln goal, and L. John Lewis. Crikey, and he's still obviously going now. Just look at the City side, by the way, just for a blast for the past for you. Donovan Ricketts, Darren Williams, David Weatherall, Matt Clark, Paul Heckingbottom, Omar Daly, Paul Evans, Kyle Nix, Joe Colbeck. Wow, remember this guy, Geelan and Dumbu and Sungu and Peter Thorne. And then on the bench that didn't come on, Mark Bauer and Tom Penfold. Oh, I feel really, really, really sodding old now. I regret doing this completely. Let's look ahead. The future, Gaz, and Walsall away at the weekend.
Yeah, so we're 5 games in. I think we're 5th in the league, obviously level on points with a few teams. As I'm going to keep saying all season, those 2 points drop. We should be top of the league at the moment.
I need to start predicting this so I can mute you when you say it.
It's been a steady start. You've got to be reasonably happy with it. The next 2 games look tough. We've got Walsall away, and then we've got Wimbledon at home, who both themselves have made good starts to the season. I went to Walsall away at the end of last season, and they were really, really good. They were 2-0 up against us and somehow managed to not win the game, despite dominating it for large parts and us being down to 10 men. We won 3-2. I think that's going to be really tough. I fancy them as dark horses this season. And then Wimbledon at home the week after. That'll be tough too. I think they've got a game in hand. I think their game was cancelled postponed due to international call-ups. So they could go second in the league if they win their game in hand. They've had a good start too. So they look like 2 tough games. And then after that, we've got Morecambe away, Newport at home, and I'm just trying to think what the other one. We've got another one wedged in there somewhere. I can't think who it is. But the 3 games that we've got after that, you would expect us to win. So I'm hoping we can take maybe 4 points from the next 2 and then win the 3 after that. And we should be right up there.
Is it Harrogate away?
It is Harrogate away, which is an early kickoff on the Saturday. Yeah,
it is. As always, big derby. Go on, Lou.
So yeah, Walsall away, Wimbledon at home, Harrogate away, Morecambe away, Newport at home. So 5-game run. If we can get the same. Say we got 10 points from our first 5, get 10 points from our next 5. We should be right up there. 10 games into the season.
The guy who one of my best mates is a Walsall fan. Like I mentioned before, he goes home and away. And he actually went to the MK Dons game and he said that's the worst Walsall have played all season. It was second best, and it was quite a surprise to him. And he actually were kind of not saying it outright, but I think they're all expecting a little bit of a comeback based on performance on Saturday. For that reason, guys, I would same as you. I called it. I think we're a dark horse also. I think we've recruited exceptionally well. Kept a core group. Matt Sadler in charge of the Saddlers with the chief exec called Sadler as well, which is amazing. I think the dark horse. A quick question from me is: he seems to have rotated the squad a little bit in recent. Well, especially I think on Saturday, wasn't it, Gaz, in terms of personnel starting and on the bench. How would you see that happening? Because obviously the games are coming thick and fast now, and you need the players up and ready to go now. This isn't now start of the season. You're almost getting into the thick of it, aren't you? For proper action where everybody should be fit. So how is that looking from a fan's perspective, and what will they take on a starting lineup?
So there were 4 changes for Saturday from the last league game. I can think of 3 of them straight away off the top of my head. Aidan Baldwin was injured, the right-hand sided centre half. So Czech Diabate came in, did really well for his first start. I thought he looked solid. Got him on loan from Exeter. Baldwin's going to be out for about a month, I believe. So Czech Diabate could. Aidan Baldwin had a good start to the season. It was a shame to lose him, and I think that played a part in the Grimsby result. We rejigged the back 3. We had to reorganise it all and really struggled. But Czech Diabate did well on Saturday. Jamie Walker came in central midfield as one of the 8s and created that first goal. I've said for weeks he should be one of the first names on the team sheet. I know Jay agrees with me, who we have on here. He rates him very highly. I think he's made one of those 8 positions. Not that he should have lost it after the end of last season anyway, but he should be. He shouldn't be losing it again after Saturday because I thought he was fantastic. I totally agree with Ian. I rate him highly. He's probably my favourite City player. Best attacking midfielder we've got, and I was disappointed that him and Bobby Poynton were dropped after the way they finished last season because I believe they played a big part in how we finished last season. Actually, that was the other change. Bobby Poynton dropped out. He'd played at Grimsby. Clark Oduor came in. I thought he did all right on Saturday. Gets out of tight areas, but he's very nimble, can quickly turn and get out of tight areas on the ball. I still think I'd be looking at playing either Poynton or Patterson next to Jamie Walker while Anthony Sarcevic is out injured. He's believed to be out for a month as well. He's got a knee injury. And then the other change was we put Ollie Sanderson in up front next to Cookie. That was, again, partly injury-related, partly form-related. I believe that Callum Kavanagh had picked up a knock, but Callum Kavanagh had a really tough start to the season, really struggled. I believe he missed part of pre-season with an injury, and it looks to be affecting him at the moment. So Ollie Sanderson looked really sharp. He played against Newcastle under-23s, looked really good, scored a goal, had another goal disallowed, which shouldn't have been disallowed. Impressed when he came on at Grimsby and got the goal at Grimsby as well. And I thought he looked really sharp, and he took a lot of the burden off Cookie on Saturday. Does a lot of running, can hold the ball up, can run in behind. I believe he's highly rated at Fulham. They give him a new contract before they sent him to us on loan. So I would expect him to keep his place alongside Cookie. Shame he didn't score, really. Had a couple of half chances on Saturday. Probably could have scored. Probably disappointed that he didn't. So yeah, I'd expect him and Jamie Walker and Czech Diabate to definitely keep the places. Whether that due to injury and obviously the performances that they've put in. So the other one will be whether Oduor keeps his place. But personally, he's done nothing wrong, but I would want Poynton or Patterson in that team next to Walker while Sarcevic is out.
Strength in depth is massive. You've got you are blessed with a good squad, and I know that they said it didn't. I think Artel said it at Grimsby. In terms of the squad on paper, that you look at it from around the league, and City are one of the strongest, not the strongest. So I think them options. Any team in that division at the moment would have a Poynton or a Patterson to come off the bench.
Yeah,
I don't think there's a doubt about that. So it's getting the best out of those that are available, and ironically, those players who've joined Sarcevic, kind of. Let's be honest. Let's throw Callum Johnson there because we don't know the situation. But you are going to be tried and tested of that you've used last year, and it's just building that consistency. So we've said it, haven't we? I think it looks good. Alexander, to me, keep saying it, is the right man for me. The test is going to come in those games coming up, like you say, a couple of tough games, and then those on paper that people will be expecting to win. Like you said, if you get that point return you mentioned, it's a really positive start, and I agree. There's not much you can complain about because you are going to have dips as a League Two club. That's just part of the course, isn't it? But if you can be relatively consistent, I think there's some positivity. Yeah, I mean Chris Eric, for example, saying the same thing.
Yeah, he's spot on. Jamie Walker leads from the front. I just think he's unbelievable. I just can't understand why he wasn't playing at the start of the season. We do have a lot of 8s. Like I said, Sanderson, I mentioned him. He's been really impressive in the 2.5 games that he's played. So they should both keep the place. We have a lot of 8s. Obviously, we signed, it was Walker and Poynton at the end of last season. Oduor can play in there. Patterson's now fit, can play in there. He started the season, scored the goal at MK Dons on the first day. And then Sarcevic, who's obviously come in, he's now injured. But we've got Joe Adams, who we've signed on loan from Wigan. We chased him all summer, wanted him all summer. He's another 8 that's come in, and he hadn't had a sniff in the league yet. He played against Newcastle under-21s on Tuesday. I believe they're saying that he's a little bit behind fitness-wise, but he's not even made the 18 for the last
he's
2
not even
league
gonna
games.
bench. Yeah.
And that's with Sarcevic injured. So, we do have a lot of competition for that 8 role. And I think they are very important positions that obviously it's good to have competition with. You can rotate form-wise, injury-wise. The only one we talked about it, me and Chris talked about it with Jamie on the pod with Jamie Rayner the other night. The only position we don't have cover for is Richie Smallwood. He was, again, fantastic, absolutely fantastic on Saturday. Got a new lease of life under Graham Alexander, doing what he's done his whole career, sitting and breaking up play, no interest in bombing on. Really consoled Sam Walker when he conceded that goal. Looks to be leading from the front, and to me, he's now our most important player because he's captain. Alexander trusts him, and we've got no cover for him. So he will pick up injuries and suspensions, and it'll be a test when we do have him out of the team who's going to cover that position. We've talked about, I know Graham Alexander's talked about Odawar or Patterson playing there, but it's not their natural position. So, let's see how we get on. But decent enough start. And like I said, 10 points from 5 games, 10 from the next 5 would be fantastic and we'd be right up there.
Are we still doing predictions, or is that kind of that thing we started doing bit the dust already? I can't quite remember.
Now you're hosting. Looks like we're back to it. 2 seconds.
Oh, well, I'm going to bring in Stephen Downs as well then.
There he is.
In that case, because he's here ready to do his Huddersfield bit with us in due course as he puts his phone away and actually starts to look like he's focusing on what he's doing.
Good evening, Downsy.
You're muted, Downsy.
That's good. Everyone's happy about that. Oh, he's back. Hang on.
Lou, that's not nice. You all right, guys? How we doing?
Yeah, good, mate. You?
Very well.
Yeah, enjoyed listening to the City chat there. I think.
Let's throw you straight into it then, Downsy. Prediction for Bradford away at Walsall at the weekend.
Well, Walsall obviously beat Town in the cup, so I know they're a decent side. Do you know what, guys? I'm going to back you. You're my bro, so we'll go for Walsall 1, City 3. What do you mean? Wow. How old am I? Oh, younger than you, my old friend.
He is like a younger brother to me. He's down.
Not young enough to use the words "you're my bro." Lou.
Sorry, I learned that off.
Lou, how old are you? Are you old enough to use those words? No. What's your prediction for Walsall away?
No, I'm not, bro. Let's go for. I'm going to go for a 1-1, just based on the fact I think Walsall are a good team. I think City are strong, but I think Walsall at home are going to be a tough test. And I actually think a draw at Walsall might not be a bad result.
Gaz?
Took the words out of my mouth, Lou. I'd 100% take a draw at Walsall on Saturday for all the reasons we've discussed. And I was going to go 1-1 myself. I think it'd be a really tough game, and I'd be happy with a 1-1 draw. And then go into the Wimbledon game and try and win that at home, which will be another tough one.
But it'll be the sort of game, guys, that you'll go and win.
Go. Well, I'm going to 3.
Chris.
Has anybody got that?
Chris, do you want to start that again, please? Because
Chris sounded like the robot from number 5, didn't he? Remember that film in the 90s?
Oh, he's back. Is he back?
Is this any better? Is this?
Yes.
You're there.
Say your prediction, quick, before you go again.
3-3. 3-3.
Wow. 7-7.
Because I love goals. Why not? No, 3-3. Let's not be too mad, but you know. There was goals in it last season, Gaz, so I'm going for goals in it this season.
It was 3-2 last year. I was at Walsall away about 4 or 5 years ago, and we actually drew 3-3 there, having been 3-0 up. I'd take a draw on Saturday. I really would.
I think they'll win, Gaz.
Now, Ryan, we're not quite that poor in Bradford. Let's move on then with those predictions in the bag, as noted down by Lou. And we'll come to Lou for the non-league scene. It's been, on the face of it, a pretty good weekend for quite a number of our sides, certainly in the upper regions of the non-league scene. Starting, of course, with Halifax and a decent-looking point on the road, even if, as you can tell by the title of the episode, it wasn't a particularly good game. A goalless draw away at Hartlepool, Lou.
Yeah, 0-0 draw. Up there at Victoria Park, but by all accounts, obviously we spoke with Shaman Stats before. Obviously, he can't make it tonight again, but obviously gave his side of the story and also trying to get an understanding of how the game went from Halifax's perspective. So, yeah, a draw. General vibe was it's good. Either side of a half-time whistle. Obviously, they've got 2 loanees, Billy Waters and Scott High, which we can ask Steve about if his thoughts on him. Played 90 minutes and did well. Kind of the secret weapon that Halifax have got, Olaware, could have won it, but it actually needed some good saves from kind of a Halifax legend in goal, Sam Johnson, to kind of just keep it as a draw 0-0. But I don't think, again, it's not a bad draw. They sit pretty much banging mid-table. With, again, the concern is the lack of goals, but they seem to be very steady again at the back, which, it's almost eat, drink, repeat Halifax Town over the past 4 or 5 years. But in terms of personnel, they've added some quite exciting players, like we've mentioned before. And down to you, you've got a view obviously on Scott High. How do you think he'll get on there at the Sherman?
Yeah, it's obviously Scott, a couple of years ago was looking like the real academy product to come out of town, to be fair, and force a claim in the first team. And then he's had injuries, loss of confidence, and really been nowhere near for the past 2 years, to be honest. So I think this is his sort of bowing out of town now, to be honest. I can see him. I don't know when his contract ends. I think it's at the end of this season, actually. So, for him to go to Halifax, get some games under his belt, maybe put himself in the shop window for, non-league or a League Two side, it would be good for him. Very combative midfielder, good on the ball, good passer, good energy. Not necessarily sort of the quickest, but in non-league, I think he'd be probably one of the cut above in non-league, and it's a very good signing for Fax in that midfield area, and will add real drive and ability. He has got ability. He's still a young player, but he's just not been able to break into the town first team. And it's a good signing for Halifax. I think they're like I say, decent draw up at Hartlepool, and it's kind of Fax doing Fax things, isn't it? They'll go and lose probably to the bottom of the league next week. But I think the thing for Halifax, and I don't know whether you were going to touch on it, Lou, to be fair, in your non-league roundup, but obviously there's a lot happening off the pitch, not necessarily at the football club, but at the rugby club, which may affect the football club. And so I think that has slightly been a concern this week, rather than on the field. I think on the field they're looking pretty good, aren't they, to be fair?
Yeah, we say it, don't we, about Halifax, is that we know they're solid, they're stubborn, they're usually quite hard to beat.
Yeah.
You're not, in terms of obviously goals, you're probably not going to get a free goal, which Chris predicted for City, but sometimes if Halifax take the lead, you pretty much guarantee that Halifax are going to get a draw, which is fair, isn't it? It's just now building on that, and I looked at the comments and listened to the comments that Millington made to friend of the show, Tom Scargill, and he says, that it feels like it's coming together really well now. It seems like some of the players and the squad rotations that he's got in play are working well. It's just about fine-tuning it probably in that final third, which has been a bit of an issue, which we've all called out before, but he's got a bit of firepower with Billy Waters now, which is somebody that they've probably not had in the past couple of years. Yes, you've had Rob Parker, but I think, Billy Waters, in terms of that quality and what he brings to the team, is a little bit different.
Yeah, they're just not that free-flowing, are they, compared to a lot of teams around them that, will be hoping for playoffs. I think that's the last piece of the jigsaw. But, we've said that about Halifax for a number of years, haven't we? That at the back and like in centre defensive midfield positions, they are very solid. They can go and, stick it out in an away game and some of these tough grounds. But it's probably at home where you want to be on the front foot a little bit more, that they're just not that creative, are they? Or they haven't got that final spark, which they kind of need.
I think it's more the final third, isn't it? Sorry, Chris.
Yeah, no, time will tell, won't it, if they kind of can get that bit right. Look, they are back at home as well, Lou, for their next 2 games. Tomorrow night against, I'm going to say it, an underachieving Oldham side. They're currently sitting 9th in the National League table, Mickey Mellon's side. But then on Saturday, another a tough-looking game as they welcome Eastleigh to the Shea. But Eastleigh on fire at the moment, 1 defeat in the league so far for them, and currently sitting 2nd.
Yeah, I think, this is a real good challenge. for Halifax in almost not kickstarting the season, but they've got to probably get a few more wins on the board now. Tomorrow night, let's be honest, it's a little bit of a derby, tiny bit. There is that element to it under the lights at the share. We all know kind of it's getting a little bit darker now at night, so it's always a really good atmosphere down at the share when it's like that. I think you're looking from a Halifax's perspective, and it's not necessarily not lose, but a win would be huge for them to take them into that Eastleigh game. I think Eastleigh, from all accounts, not watched them myself, obviously seen highlights of non-league, but they seem to be really impressing. And if Halifax get that win under the belts tomorrow night, that really gives them almost a foot into that game on Saturday to take it to Eastleigh, because Halifax's ambition is to get back in the playoffs where they have been in the past 2 years or so. So, and at the moment, the 13th, 14th. So they do need to get wins on the board pretty soon, because there's teams who were pulling away. We only saw at the weekend, for me, and called it right at the beginning, the two favourites for that league, Gateshead and Barnet. And Gateshead have won that 2-0. And apparently deserved that as well. So you've also got to make sure that you're reining in teams in above you, because if not, you can easily slip away, even though we're 7 or 8 games into the season.
But saying that, just jumping in there, sorry, Chris, just saying that, Lou, though, I do feel like looking at the National League this season that they're into Chesterfield, they're into Stockport, they're into Wrexham. So, somebody like Eastleigh are probably doing, better than what expected maybe, and having a bit more of a go. And you would expect probably Oldham to do a bit better, because, like you said, Chris, Mickey Mellon's a good manager. He's at non-league level, and that's where I think Halifax do need to, if they're going to do something, it's probably this season where they need to maybe do something, because I don't see the beat. I know what you said about Gateshead and Barnet, but I won't call them massive hitters.
Rochdale.
Yeah, Jen, I'm like, I won't call them massive hitters like Chesterfield were definitely probably going to win the league. Wrexham and Stockport spent silly money to get out of it.
Yeah, and I hear you. I think you definitely have a good point to that, where they're not probably going to run away with the league like a Chesterfield. I'd argue, Barnet and Gateshead for me stand out, and let's be honest, Rochdale, obviously Chris knows very well, are doing very well themselves.
2 goals conceded. That's it. Yeah, 2 goals. Rochdale have started superbly. I know it's the wrong side of the Pennines for this show, but I'm just going to say, since I work for them and follow them up and down, I'll be there tomorrow night for their game. But it's been a great start.
Yeah, and I think this is where Halifax need to. They're going to be looking at the likes of Rochdale to pull them in, and they've got to sooner rather than later.
To be fair, I think, just quickly touching on Steve's point, I think, though, because there isn't necessarily, there isn't the big side, so to speak, or the big spender, there's more teams, actually, that fancy their chances of getting the playoff places, which I think, in a weird way, if there was the big hitters, Halifax would arguably stand a better chance of making the playoffs, because there'd be less sides that are necessarily thinking, let's go for it. Actually, I think as it is, half the league are looking at certainly making the playoffs, and I think you could safely say 6 or 7 teams are wanting at least a top 3 finish and to be probably pushing for the title. So
that's exactly my point, Chris.
Yeah,
exactly my point.
But because of that, though, I think it's going to be more difficult for Halifax in a strange way, even though, as you say, this is a season where they need to make sure they're in there. Because I actually think it's going to be harder for them to guarantee that. I really do, looking at some of the sides at the level. The sides like Dagenham, for example, who I saw a couple of weeks ago at Rochdale, who have, on the face of it, recruited well and certainly look like they're going to be stronger than they were last season. Eastleigh, they were pants when I saw in both games last season. I think Rochdale won 6-1 on aggregate and put 4 past them at their place. So obviously something has changed there, because they've had a great start to the season. So let's move on.
Could we see sides? Could we see sides gambling, Chris? Do you think, like gambling maybe to sign extra players?
In terms of the financial, spend. But I mean, potentially, it's going to be interesting. I saw a piece. I think it was on the BBC Sport website earlier on. There's a hell of a lot of out of contract EFL players from last season that would be fantastic signings at National League level. That actually now that we're past that window, a lot of them will be having to look at the fact that the National League is an open window until late March. to actually get their careers back on track. And, so you could see some fairly big names that have no longer got clubs actually end up at National League clubs purely to make the most of the fact the window's there. But with that, as you say, you'll see clubs that actually perhaps will spend that little bit more than they perhaps would have done if they didn't think they stood a better chance of making the top 7.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And also, sorry, guys, I'll obviously let you in, but I think there's also an element that there's not the limitations that we have in EFL as well, which makes a big difference. That's why the gap between sometimes the National League and League Two is as small as it is, because the likes of Stockport and Salford, etc., have spent big in Chesterfield in the National League because they can do it.
Yeah, go on, guys.
What's the situation with Southend? Because weren't they expected to be reasonably big spenders this summer? And it's not really. I don't know if it's really come to fruition. I know Dave mentioned in pre-season that he expected them to sort of be the next sort of cab off the rank with the Chesterfield and that. And they've signed Macaulay Bond today, which is reasonably decent signing by national standards.
Yeah, to be fair, on the face of it, that's a cracking sign, Macaulay Bond for Southend. But I guess for them, because they lost their big striker from the last couple of seasons, Harry Cardwell, he joined Forest Green maybe 10 days, 2 weeks or so ago, a couple of weeks ago anyway. So they're looking to replace. But you're right. They are. I mean, look, I expect them to be up there. Looking at the way they've started the season, 1 win, 1 loss, 4 draws. They're just kind of still finding their feet a bit this season. But I'm sure that for Southend, they will start turning those draws into wins and be a side that are a side they're up there. They've not, don't get me wrong, they're not going out there and splashing it any way, shape, or form. We're not talking anything like we've seen in recent years in terms of splashing National League money, but they are now no longer absolutely screwed the way that they were before with, deductions and payers not being played. They've had it all went through in the summer. Yeah.
Well, they wanted how do you say his name? Chishmanga, the guy who was on, the Chesterfield.
Kabongo Shimanga, yes.
Try again, guys.
They wanted him, didn't they?
I wanted him at Rochdale.
He's gone to Swindon, and then they've signed Macaulay Bond today. So yeah, you could see him possibly pushing him. I just wondered what you knew was going on, but yeah, thanks.
Yeah, no bother. Lou, moving on. Farsley Celtic. Look, was it a week ago that we found out? Was it actually a week or was it longer than that? I can't.
You were on air. I wasn't here. I was enjoying a curry while you were. That
was it. Yeah. So it has been a week, hasn't it? Since Danny Ellis and Clayton Donaldson departed, and since then, with Pav Singh in charge, Farsley have picked up 4 points, and on Saturday, a late 82nd minute winner to get a win at Needham Market.
Yeah. Listen, we're doing really well. There's no hiding fact. Eighth in the league on 13 points, matching some of the teams who are just inside of playoff places at the moment, just shy of it, just simply on goal difference. But doing really well under, quite challenging circumstances, in terms of off the pitch with what's happened with Clayton and Danny Ellis, who are technically registered as players, but not there and in the squad. Managed by Pav Singh now, was obviously supported by likes of Chris Atkinson, Connor Branson, and Tom Morgan as well. So, listen, whatever's happening off the pitch, it's not affecting what's happening on it. A really strong win down at Needham Market. It's a 5-hour trip, regardless of what time of day, whether it's a midweek or a Saturday. It's a stinker of a journey. But their key man, Danny Greenfield, who a lot of us have seen around this level for quite a few years, he's really going well there at the Citadel, and he's scored 2 goals in the past 2 games. His finish on Saturday is an absolute cracker. If you want to see it, check it out. It is a really, really strong finish, and he seems to be at the moment the man in form that's firing him up the league table. So doing really well. They've just got to keep momentum going. The challenge is, being brutally honest, off the pitch, getting that pitch ready for, I think, the 28th of September, 21st, 28th September, because they're due to play their first home game. I've seen recent pitch of it. There's no grass. It's just rubble, from what I can see. So that'll be interesting to see if we can get that done. But they're away at Hallam, who are actually flying at the moment in the North Counties East League. Another tip for mine that we're going to do well away from home on Saturday. So, listen, on the pitch doing really well. They seem to have steadied the ship off it now with Pav obviously taking charge, and obviously we've seen quite a lot of media interest in Pav for really good reasons. I think he's the highest ranked British South Asian coach now in the pyramid, which is fantastic news. And obviously he's got amazing contacts being at West Riding FA as well. So he'll be wanting to kind of put his own stamp on things. And listen, like you said, you can't complain about points return at the moment.
Absolutely. Moving on then from a massive late win for Valsley to a massive scoreline at Nethermore Park. And I mean, let's be honest, Hyde had started the season superbly. I can't remember whether they were top going into it or whether it was maybe the week before they were top. They were. Yeah. Thanks for clarifying that. 4-0 Guiseley. A hell of an afternoon now at Nethermore Park against what is, as I say, a strong Hyde United side.
That's probably the standout result of the weekend for me. Exceptional work from Mark Bauer and Danny Boschel's men. I didn't expect it 4-0. I were thinking Guiseley might win it, but I was not expecting a game like that and a result like that. But listen, they've got quality across the pitch. You know, they took a really early blow with Jamila Beale being carried off.
Literally.
I mean, obviously I've seen reports that apparently he was in hospital. I think
his gums realigned, I think. And
teeth and mouth realigned, which sounds horrific. So hopefully he gets better after that. But listen, another set piece from Will Longbottom. He does it countless times. He's done it again with a superb finish. Leo Farrell, who's on loan from Barnsley, seems to be the new kid on the block.
Hit the ground running, doesn't even cover it, does it?
Not half. 2 goals. I think it's 18-19. And if he carries on the way he's doing, there's 2 perspectives to this. It's really good for Guiseley, but it could also be really bad for Guiseley because he could easily go up the leagues if he's just going to go and score goals every week. And Reece Kendall come off the bench as well, who was a first team starter last year, very very much a regular at left back. Can't start at the moment, but comes off the bench to round things off with a 4th goal. So listen, there's a lot of positivity down at Nethermore. Yes, they're just outside the playoffs, I think, at the moment. But that's a really, really good win, and exactly probably what the fans want to see, because from the reports and comments I've heard from Guiseley fans, that was probably the best performance I've seen in a long, long time. So it gives them a real good feeling going into a couple of games coming up. So listen, fans want to go at Whitby at the weekend. Guiseley can't do that again. They go away on tomorrow night to Whitby, and then we're at home to 1874 Northwich in the FA Cup. And if fate had it, and it's one of those quirks that seems to happen, that if Avenue played Stocksbridge in the first, I think in the preliminary round, then the winner of that played 1874, and 1874 have probably been the lowest ranked team to beat both, kind of Stocksbridge after beating Avenue, and they get a kind of a plum tie away at Guiseley. And from Guiseley's perspective, no disrespect to 1874, they'll be probably hoping to get past that one and have a good cup run.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's turn attention then to Bradford Park Avenue and a win for Avenue in the FA Trophy. Away at Witton Albion, a 3-1 win. Obviously, you were there for that one, Lou, and it must have been a really good afternoon for Craig Elliott's first game in charge. Am I right in thinking?
Yeah, technically his first game in charge in a dugout. So he's still kind of assessing the squad of where it is, but I'd argue it's probably Avenue's best performance of the season across the 90 minutes. First half, I think with a great respect, and Witton fans were even saying the same thing, that the game should have been out at sight. It should have been 3-0 probably. We had 2 one-on-one situations where the keepers made the save, but arguably we could have done a bit better than that. And then a minute straight after half-time, Witton equalised with a simple ball into the box and a header into the near post. And, you start not questioning, but you're almost thinking, right, what can the players bring out of this now? What have they got about themselves to show a bit of character? And to be fair, it really didn't alter the shape and dynamic of a play. We came back into that and won 3-1. Some really good play. The likes of Ollie Norman seems to be really coming out of his shell now, which is good because he's getting an opportunity that, let's be honest, he was on the bench a bit. He wasn't really getting used a bit. And also, you might be watching, but likes of Paddy Sykes, who's worked his socks off since he's joined. He is... he will do everything. He will flick balls on. He will link play up. And for whatever reason, he's just not been able to get a goal. Even from almost 3 yards out in one of the games, he just couldn't hit the back of the net. To Gazzy's point, at City, that one went over the line. But yeah. But luckily, Paddy Sykes got on the end of the corner and it almost hit him accidentally. It's one of those where he actually didn't really do much. It's hit him and it's gone in, and he just needed that for him. And he absolutely thoroughly deserves that. And yeah, a really good win. Positive, nothing to kind of get too happy about. One of those kind of football sayings, but it's easy to kind of get carried away. But 2 wins on the bounce against Grimsby, Borough and Witton, who were probably equivalent to Avenue, but in the west side of the Northern Premier League, is a solid win, solid performance.
onwards then with the rest of the non-league, Lou?
Yeah, no worries, mate. So Avenue tomorrow go up to Durham to Ashington on Tuesday. Wow, that's a trip and a half on a midweek. And the FA Trophy reward for beating Witton is a trip to Ossett, a bit of a West Yorkshire derby, where Craig Elliott as a manager will come up against his old friend Ryan Qualter. So that should be interesting. Been kind of running through the teams again as we normally do in alphabetical order. So Brighouse unfortunately suffered a defeat in a cup on penalties for the second time this season after being knocked out by Barlick in the FA Cup. So they suffered a 5-3 defeat on penalties to Clitheroe. And then their next game is away to Emily on the 17th. So they do have a little bit of break. But Grant Black's bolstered the squad with a few signings. Romeo Dunn from AFC Sudbury, who was a forward. Then talking of Ossett, the winger Jardel Costa has gone to Brighouse, and also the young lad from Barnes, who's defender Alex Juve, has joined Brighouse. So no surprise to see Grant Black already mixing things up. He does this, and obviously we spoke to him, didn't we, early in pre-season about how his squad's looking. So he will tinker with that. You want to almost think, for those who are not familiar with non-league, it's like Claudio Ranieri, the Tinkerman. He's kind of that kind of person. Is Grant Black. Emily, really good, solid win against Dunstan, 2-0 on Friday night. It's a superb win. Dunstan has started the season, relatively well, and Emily have been even better. And May Birchall seems to be the signing so far that's really taking it as player of the month. And then face Newton Aycliffe in the FA Trophy at home as a draw today, and then sandwiched in between that is a trip away to Liversidge. But yeah, Downsy on Emily, they've started really well, haven't they, mate?
Just want to jump in there, Lou. How they've won at Dunstan is quite incredible, because I do a lot of work with Emily Football Club, and spoke to Richard Tracy in midweek before the game, and he literally said to me on the phone, he said, "We've got 12 fit players." That was it. He said, "I don't know what we're going to do. We're going to have to get some under 23s in, or we're going to have to sign maybe somebody." Because at that time when I spoke to him on the Wednesday before the game, he said that they had 12 fit players, and that was it. They're doing it really tough. All the injuries have come at the same time, and whilst none of them are like really long injuries, like long term, they're all injuries that are hard enough to keep players out. And he did have 2 players, he wouldn't name them, but he had 2 players come up to him and say that if it was absolutely necessary that they would play. But Richard just said, "Look, I can't. It's not fair to risk player safety over the fact that these chaps want to play." But that just shows the togetherness of the squad, and they've started probably better than what a lot of people have expected, Lou. And I thoroughly believe that they can continue. Birchall's been a great signing. I know I spoke to Mo Kasim, who we talked about privately before. He's not started the season as he wanted, but he's hoping to get up and firing. And so they've got a lot of good talent there. It's just if they can continue it, and if they can sort these injury problems out. But yeah, looking forward to hopefully seeing a couple of good wins for Emily coming up, particularly against Liversidge, which is apart from the Brighouse, it's this sort of next big West Yorkshire derby for them.
Absolutely, mate. And then you're right. So Liversidge, unfortunately, lost in the 95th minute to Ravio in the FA Trophy, which unfortunately sees them knocked out, as well as Garforth, who lost to a fellow Northwest team within Shawtown, who have done very well recent season. So I watched Garforth last midweek actually against Ashington, and they suffered a 2-1 defeat. And yeah, it's one of those where again Garforth have started the season well. Liversidge have done okay despite the league position. It's again consistency, which we talk about across the divisions, but it's so vital in non-league. Moving quickly through the others, so Ossett drew against Stalybridge, won all but one on penalties in a bit of a marathon, and they face Sherwood Colliery on Saturday. Obviously, their reward, like we mentioned earlier, for that trophy win is welcoming Bradford Park Avenue. Pontycols, they had a really, really good result at Runcorn Linnets away 2-1. Difficult place to go. Super win for Ponty. They're rewarded with an away trip to City of Liverpool. I have no insight, but if you are Ponty, you go for a night out after that game. And then on Saturday, they're at home to Concert, who've been struggling a little bit. So Ponty might be hoping for another good points return there. In the North Counties East League, just to run through some of the results featuring some of our teams in the region. So Albion drew 2-2 with Knaresborough, a last-minute equaliser from Lewis Waddington. Campion had a very much changed team after their cup exploits, unfortunately, suffering a 3-1 defeat to Blythe. They really mixed the team up, but came out really strong winners on the weekend, which is a real big bonus for James Bicknell and Lee Ashworth, who we spoke about last week before, prior to Blythe. Fackley beat Winterton 5-1, and Chris, you were also at one of the games Silsden against Eccleshill.
Yeah, one apiece at Silsden. A really good game. Silsden, to be fair, I think dominated well and truly that first half. Probably should have been more than a goal ahead. And then the second half, Eccleshill, I think probably shaded apart from maybe the last 10, 15 minutes when Silsden really started pushing. But I think at the end of the day, a point was a fair result. And I really like going down to Silsden. I think as a ground and as a club, they're a really friendly, welcoming club. And just where the ground is situated, when you stood on the dugout side, you've got the hills up over on the moors behind. It's a lovely ground to go to. So yeah, a good afternoon in all things considered. And put a point to fair result there, one apiece.
Have they still got that prolific striker that they had last season?
Price, yes.
Yeah, they still got him.
He is still there, but because I was there, he didn't score. This is my theory that I've come up with. I'm sorry, Kale. But every time I say how good Kale Price is, Lou, I say it time and time again. And whenever I actually see him play live, he doesn't score.
Just don't bother turning up, then. I think you're banned there from Silsden, so you've just set yourself a precedent there, mate.
I'm surprised that Matt Cav hasn't banned me from Silsden yet.
He knows us and he listens in. So.
He knows me well, does Cav.
Yeah, so there you go, Cav. You know what to do. You can ban him. And then just running through the rest of the weekend's results in the Division 1 with North Counties East. So Glasshoughton beat Arnthorpe 3-1. Shelley beat Selby Town 3-1. I noticed this as well on the X feed. South Leeds lost to Nossal 5-1, with South Leeds pretty much, I think, put one word, just put pathetic. Interesting.
Really?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, we lost. But yeah, pathetic was the headline.
The main word.
So there's nothing like not being biased to your own team. Wakefield beat Louth 4-1. Wakefield are getting up and running by the looks of things. And Yorkshire Amateurs, unfortunately, are really struggling at the moment. They suffered a 7-2 defeat at home to Club Thorn. There's a load of fixtures happening midweek in the Cup and in the league and at the weekend as well. So I won't go through every single one because we will be here till about 11 o'clock at night. But what I will suggest to people is go and have a look. We will retweet an RX feed and check it out. And also just one couple more things. Stainton lost to Ashton Athletic in the northwest side of things 2-1. But also for our region as well, the West Riding County Cup draw takes place on Wednesday. So we'll keep people updated because it's one of those that our local teams do play each other. And whether people take it seriously or not, it's always a competition where people do get together and kind of come together for the greater of our game in our local region. And listen, it's always one of those that when you get through to the final, it starts to become quite prestigious. If you're not bothered about the first round, if you get to the final, it means something. So again, we'll keep everybody updated with that one.
I'm disappointed
as well on Ryan's. Sorry, Dan, I'm just going to bring this up from Ryan. Obviously, Wakefield, they have got a game tomorrow night. I think is it Glasshouse Welfare? I think I've got. It's a bit of a derby, that one, isn't it? Tomorrow night, and Ryan saying that if everyone does attend the game at the Wake game tomorrow night, keep out for players from his club, his local club, Crofton, who've been invited by Wakefield to raise some money after they were the victims of an arson attack. I hope that goes well, Ryan, and that you can raise some money to kind of recover from that. Sorry, Danza.
No, I was just going to say I'm disappointed, Lou. Gaz wanting to hear every single fixture that's going on midweek, so
we have not got enough time. We want to
I will send him a voice note.
At this rate, it's barely going to be worth Brownie joining us, but here he is. He does indeed join us. Between you and Danza, given that we wanted to be off by quarter to 9 o'clock-ish, you've got about 2.5 minutes each.
Welcome to my world, boys. Welcome to my world. Hello.
Who's going first here? Since I've been sat here for half an hour, or
go on, Dan. You've earned it. Knock yourself out.
Or have we brought the big co-star in?
There's a little bit.
You've got actual news, I think, haven't you? You've got a striker, haven't you?
I wanted to be childish. I really wanted to be childish enough to let Brownie go first, but
let Brownie go first because it'll only be 30 seconds.
Go on then, Downsy. Huddersfield Town.
Yeah, so
what have you got to tell us?
Not a lot. It seems like there's a new striker going to be in the building. A lot of sources, including HP, has confirmed that we are trying to sign Freddie Ladapo, who was an ex-Ipswich player. I know I said that wrong, and Chris. Basically, ex-Ipswich striker, Rotherham, Plymouth, a whole host of clubs, was on loan at Charlton last season. 31 years of age now. I think some people are suggesting it's a panic signing. I'm just glad that we're getting another forward in. It's another option. He's obviously decent at League One level. Otherwise, he wouldn't have played for the clubs that he has done. And so let's see what he's got. Obviously, he's not had a pre-season or anything, unless he was training sort of at Ipswich before they let him go. So I don't know how fit he's going to be or how long it's going to take him to get up to scratch. But if we are bringing him in and the club are going to confirm it, then yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah,
He's one of them, Downsy. I wondered why he hadn't got a club already, to be honest. I thought he would have been snapped up much sooner than now, to be honest. I think he could be a true bit of business. Like you say, you've got to get him fit because he won't have trained probably since the end of last season. He'd have hoped he'd have kept himself fit over the summer, but I think he can score goals in League One.
If I'm right in thinking, though, I think he was with Ipswich over the course of the summer. I think he was quite a late release. I don't think it was a case of, if I'm right in thinking, I've just got this feeling in the back of my head that I've seen something across Twitter or social media of Ipswich's announcement when he left. I think it was one of those mutual terminations that
it was
around deadline day, and that he was training with the club, but they've just come to that agreement that, look, he's not going to get minutes in the Prem to just let him go and find pastures new. So I think because of that, I don't think he'll be too far in terms of being off speed. So
yeah, I mean, he scored 3 goals in 29 appearances overall last season in the Champ for Ipswich, and
mostly
also
off the bench.
Yeah, mostly off the bench, and he played, I think it was 14 times for Charlton on loan, I think, from my understanding. So, but Charlton weren't very good last season, to be fair. And they relied a lot on Alfie May. So I think it could be a clever signing. He's experienced at that level, scored a lot of goals for Ipswich in League One, was their main goal scorer when they got promoted. So I'm just happy that we've signed somebody who's at least experienced at that level. And I think it could be all right on a short-term deal. It sort of works for everybody, doesn't it, really?
Scored a lot of goals at Rotherham and Plymouth, mate, at that level. I think, I think he might be all right for you. Could be
Absolutely.
I'm a bit worried. Sorry, Chris. I'm just a bit worried what the situation with Reece Healy is. If they are I'm hoping that they're just deciding to bring him in as well as Reece Healy being all right. Because if Reece Healy's not all right, then we're still back to being only at 4 strikers. So
well, time will tell. All the fingers crossed that kind of pans out and he's back fit before you know it. Looking ahead then to the weekend and Bolton, this is
big game.
Yeah, it's a big game, isn't it? Look, I'm gonna, because it seems to have been the theme of the night, I'm gonna throw in a faux rivalry here between you and Bolton. Bolton being the bigger club and all. What are you expecting from the weekend?
No comment on that from Little Lincoln. But yeah, in terms of the game on Saturday, listen, Bolton were going to be up there. They were a lot of people's favourites this season to even finish above Town. I think
not going that way, is it? 18th.
They've not started the best. They lost 2-0 to Exeter. They've beaten Leyton Orient. They've drawn with Wrexham and Mansfield. So we got some music there in the background. Yeah, so it's not been the best, the best of starts for them. We've started a lot better. I think they've not really got into the rhythm. I think there's been a bit of a playoff hangover, if I'm honest. But Ian Evatt is a good manager. I do rate him. And it's going to be a very, very tough game. Listen, going to Bolton, Town don't normally do well when we go away to Bolton. So should be an interesting fixture, Chris, to be fair. And we've got to get back to winning ways.
I can almost hear the Ian Evatt outchants already, to be honest, because they come when they can be on a winning run, when there'll still be people wanting Ian Evatt out at Bolton. Prediction?
Well, interestingly enough, Michael Duff's been banned with Andy Kwai. And and fined, I think, £1,000 for his comments when he got sent off against Rotherham, and therefore it'll all rest on Martin Patterson to take us on Saturday. I'll go for a 2-1 Town win, but we need a lot better performance if we're going to beat Bolton. Certainly better than what we played against Stevenage or Shrewsbury. So
Luke's
yeah,
just remembered that he needs to pick his pen up to write these down as he sneezes. Bless you.
2-1.
Let's go to Gaz then. So Steve's gone for a 2-1 Town win. Gaz?
I've been back in town this season. Me and my little bro, Steve, we've been sticking with each other, and I think they will win one. I think Town will win 1-0.
Yes, big bro.
Brownie?
No, sorry, mate. Sorry, mate. 2-0 to Bolton.
Hello?
Sorry, I just need to come over my sneeze. That was just as powerful as the lad from Bolton who got ruled out at EFL Trophy. I actually think losing Duff is actually a real big one for you at the weekend from the touchline, because I think there'd be almost 2 heavyweights going at it with him and Everett. That'd have been really interesting. I actually think I'm going to say this similar to what I did with City. I think it'll be 1-1 draw.
Can I ask Brownie why he thinks 2-0?
Hang on, I haven't done mine yet.
All right, sorry, Chris.
I'm joking.
I'm going to go for a 4-1 Bolton win. No. I think actually Lewis makes a bloody good point though with regards to Duff, and I do think Bolton will be desperate to get a win. And as James quite actually mentions, like if not James, sorry, it was Rowan. I'll come back to in a second. But James is saying if you're getting more striker injuries, you need to employ some form of whisper. I mean, there is a bit of a hoodoo with your strikers. It was Ryan that said if Bolton win, they're only actually 2 points behind Huddersfield. So from Bolton's perspective, it's a massive game for them to win. And on that, I'm going to go for a 3-2 Bolton win.
Who was the? Do you remember? I can't remember when it was. A manager got banned for like a game, and the team performed amazingly well. And then the manager was just like, "I'll just sit in the stands."
Once Steve Evans at Leeds, was it?
It should have been if it wasn't, but was it Allardyce or something? I'm sure there was some manager and the team did really well, did really well, and then just kind of.
I don't know. I mean, Allardyce regularly spent the first half of games in the stands because he had the earpiece too at the time. I think it was Phil Brown, he was his number 2, and then Sammy Lee. But I think it's happened a few times. To be fair, a lot of managers feel like they get a far better perspective of the overall game when they're higher up. But right, that. I think that was everybody's, wasn't it? That was everyone's. Lou, you got 5 predictions written down for Town.
I've got something.
What's Brownie's prediction for City, even though he's heard none of the chat?
Who are they playing again?
They're away at Walsall.
They're playing Man City, mate.
Ooh. No, I reckon a draw. 1-1. 1-1.
Oh,
so just behind you, they're just below you, aren't they? So yeah.
Right, moving on. Brownie, Leeds. Anything new? No.
End of show. See you later. Thanks for watching.
Cheers for coming.
To be fair, it's just looking ahead to Saturday's game. Really massive game, 12:30 against Burnley. It's going to be a good opportunity to test ourselves against what will probably be promotion rivals. Did find something interesting actually. There was a squad retention kind of table. Leeds have apparently retained 63% of their squad from last season. Burnley have only retained 43% and were 22nd in this table. So huge turnover, as we know. Lost a lot of key players. Managed to keep a couple of key players as well.
Yeah.
But lost a lot of players. But Scott Parker, he knows the league, knows how to do this. He's handled teams of kind of Burnley's size before. Well, hang on.
You're being a lot more respectful about Scott Parker when Jay's not around.
No, but I just know what happens in these circumstances whenever they come up against Leeds. It's normally Leeds who end up losing out, but we've seen this before. But it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a good barometer of where the two teams are, I think.
I think it's going to be a real humdinger of a game.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, Leeds had a lot of turnover in the summer, but it's actually, as that kind of percentage would say, nearly 65% of your squad retained. I think is not too shabby, especially when you've added the quality that we have. So it's going to be a good test.
Where's it at, Brownie?
It is at Elland Road.
I think it is at
Elland
Elland Road, I
Road,
believe.
Is
Yeah.
it? Let me have a
I
look.
only know that because one of my Burnley
Yeah,
supporting
it's-
mates has bought his dad's hospitality tickets for the game as a Burnley fan at Elland Road.
Oh wow, really? Oh, good
My
stuff.
my colleague at work is a big massive Burnley fan, and it was interesting the other week, Brownie, when you were talking about all the sort of ins and outs from the transfers and how they've sort of ended the transfer window from an outside point of view probably badly, and Leeds have ended it quite well or very well. And I put that to him, and he's genuinely not that worried. Like he said, there was a lot of players that have left that Burnley squad that really either weren't good enough or didn't really care, and that they've got a lot of people off the books that they probably needed to, and got people in that he actually thinks is all right.
I think this is right, though, if I'm honest, because realistically, out of the starting 11s that they were going for last season in the Prem, I think they've only lost 3 or 4. The reason that it's such a high turnover is because they had a squad of about 48 players, though, because there were a hell of a lot that had come in and gone out on loan. And there was a hell of a lot of players last season in Burnley's squad also that were regulars in the championship winning side and then didn't kick a ball last season. So there's been a high turnover, but it's been a lot of clearing the decks as well. And actually, they was kind of set up for it to a point. They have lost more of the key players they wanted to keep than they originally wanted to. But with the players that they've got coming in, this is why I can kind of see it. You know, having spoken to a couple of Burnley fans that know myself, they've lost some, but actually, despite the numbers and the volume of players that have made their way out of Burnley, actually they're not too. It's not as damaging as you would look at it from an outside perspective.
Which is interesting because of how they've reacted compared to how Leeds fans reacted. I'm not. This isn't a dig, Brownie. I'm just saying that this is it's an interesting comparison. But from what I've spoke to my colleague at work, he's been sort of more laissez-faire about it, and there's not been the same volatile reaction about losing their bigger players than what Leeds fans did about their players, which I find interesting.
The difference there, though, Brownie, is going to be, isn't it, if I'm right, is that Leeds didn't end the season with 48 players on the book. So, that's a slightly exaggerated number, but Leeds didn't end the season with a massively inflated squad. So where Burnley have been able to allow a lot of fringe players to leave and a couple of key players, for Leeds with the players that left were practically the key ones.
I think there's also, sorry, Brown, I'll let you because you know
he gets on now. We can still let him talk.
I know. Sorry, mate. I think there's two parts of this as well. Where, with the great respect to Burnley, they're a decent sized club, but there's going to be more noise because it's Leeds United. Inflating the Leeds egos here, I know, but Leeds are going to have more noise on social media and around the media because it's Leeds United. So the noise is a bit more magnified compared to Burnley. But I also think
Ryan disagrees.
Sorry,
but I think there's also an aspect where Burnley probably needed to do it from their perspective, and I actually don't think Leeds fans, most of them, if I'm being honest, had a massive meltdown because I think they were expecting some of those players to leave anyway.
It's just the ones that have got their hands on a mobile phone or a keyboard. It's just them.
No, I do. I generally do. I think there's. Don't get me wrong. There's a difference between disappointed to lose the players have got, but I don't think there was a meltdown in, oh my God, why have we got rid of him? I think people were expecting probably less of Archie Gray, if I'm being honest, but I think people were expecting like Somerville and potentially Rutter or Monto to go anywhere.
Just review Brownie and Steve's show from 2 weeks ago, Lou, and you'll get a very different picture.
Possibly, you know what? Possibly so, but I think the sensible ones who kind of know the stuff will probably expect the better players to leave because he didn't get promoted. Whereas I think from the likes of Burnley's perspective, it's a bit more of a reset because of the situation they found themselves in. There you go, Brownie. You can take over. I'm off the fence now.
So what you're saying, Lou, is that
Brownie's
So what you're saying, Lou, is that Brownie and Jay are not sensible Leeds fans. And that's fine, Lou.
I'll happily admit I'm not a sensible Leeds fan. Jay's far more sensible than me. But no, there was about a week where it was meltdown territory. There was a good week from when we sold Rutter to signing Ramazani. That was horrible. That week was like full on. We are just, what is going on? Burn it all down to the ground. This is horrible. Kind of, it's the end of the world kind of thing. I guess you could probably compare Burnley's kind of summer to maybe what Leeds went through last season. So we'd just come down from the Premier League. We lost a few players, but it was a similar kind of thing we were hearing. Oh, it's players who don't care, and it's this, and it's players that didn't perform well the previous season, etc., etc. So I think it probably might be better to compare it to where Leeds were last season. In terms of this summer, I mean, where I'm at with it, I've been really impressed with the last 2 games that we've played. I think the style's evolved a little bit. I think the additions are absolutely superb. It was a surprise to me to hear Farke kind of still talking about Rutter and Somerville after the last game, because I just thought it's kind of a bit unnecessary, really. Why
I was surprised with that, mate. I was.
Yeah, why are you digging on that? Especially, after a really good performance, and Solomon was superb, and Ramazani, when he came on, looked fantastic. So that was a little bit kind of, all right, okay, we'll see. I think we're in a really good spot, though. I think we're in an excellent spot. I'm far more positive about the season now from what I've seen from the new signings and also the style as well. Again, doesn't feel like there's any kind of excuse for Farke this season. It has to be kind of promotion. I mean, any other Championship manager, I think, could give the right arm for that squad. And he just has to deliver. And it's games like this at the weekend that's going to be telling. But also, last season what caught us out was how we performed against the lower teams as well. So yeah, we'll see.
I'll never forget Rotherham away last season.
I know. I can't believe that. I know. Shocking. Absolutely. Did we miss a penalty or something that game as well? Or
I think you did, but you might have been a few points down by that point,
I don't
mate.
know. We had a few drinks, didn't we? So that blurred it all.
We did. But yeah, so it's looking okay. It's looking good. It's been a quiet week, international break. Probably the most interesting thing that's happened was Junior Firpo playing up front for the Dominican Republic. Which
how did that work out?
I don't know. I mean, they won the game, so fair play. He's very, very versatile as our junior, so that was about the most interesting thing that's happened all week. Yeah. Well, there's a couple of bits of rumours coming out about Bamford, new contract potentially, a release clause for Ilan Meslier.
Yay!
Well, we don't know if this is just kind of people are filling the space because
actually
talk about. So it feels
you can't give Bamford a new deal. You can't. Come on.
At this stage, I mean, Bamford surely. I mean, I'm guessing, is he in his final year, Brownie?
Yeah.
Even still, it seems a little bit. Yeah, I'm not quite sure with the injuries recently whether that would be a swap anyway. And also, it's for Meslier. I mean, I bet you're all hoping that it's literally like £2.50 in a packet of quavers or something, because Leeds fans seem pretty keen to see Meslier go.
Well, what I will say about Bamford is he came in to the team last season, and he was a big part of why we went on this really good run. And I feel like this has just been completely forgotten. Like I don't get it. He doesn't score a lot of goals. He's not clinical, but he was a huge part. He came in instead of Perrault, and he made the system work, and that's why he went on that big long run. But he can't keep himself fit for very long. But I think it's a bit unfair. I think what fans are saying is a little bit unnecessary. I don't think he's really been recognised for what he did last season at points and what he's done throughout his Leeds career, which is do a job. And not the best player in the world, certainly not the best finisher. He's had a lot of big moments that have cost us, especially missing penalties and such. But he's done good things for us, and he's made us a better team at times. Meslier for me, Meslier is the weak link this season. He's the one that I really worry about because he dropped a clanger the first day, which had big repercussions in that game. If he's got a release clause and they're arguing about a release clause, I don't know what that release clause would be. I think he probably thought he would have left the club by now, but there hasn't been anyone interested, I don't think. Rumours of, I think, Marseille or someone in the summer, but it didn't materialise. So
wants to be number one, though, doesn't he? That's the thing with goalkeepers.
Yeah, well, that's true. He's used to playing number one. He's been number one.
That's what I'm saying.
19 or 20. So yeah, you're absolutely right. He expects to be number one, whereas I don't know any team kind of in a top league that would have him as a number one.
No, and that's the thing with Nichols at Town. That's why Nichols hasn't moved, because he can't get a number one spot at a Championship club, and that's the same for Meslier. And he's not going to drop, is he?
No. I mean, Farke loves him. Farke absolutely loves him. I think he's that modern day keeper. He can play a bit with his feet. You know, he can control a football. He don't look, you know, completely out of his depth when he has to, you know, control the ball or get a pass back. So, you know, he plays his part that way. But it's a shame because, you know, he looked like the hottest goalkeeping prospect going. You know,
he did
3-4 years ago. You know, they were talking about some big fees and everything. And one thing I would say, the Premier League really knocked his confidence when we were getting hammered. You know, when we were getting absolutely hammered week in, week out, it just ruined his confidence. So he's not 100% to blame. You know, what was in front of him was really poor for a good 18 months to 2 seasons. But it's at that point now where it's frustrating because you don't trust him when the team gets a shot on you. I mean, Portsmouth scored 2 goals with an XG of 0.19 or something. You know, you can't have that going forward. You know, if you're going to win leagues and stuff. So we'll see. I mean, he's not going anywhere now, anyway, is he? At least until January. So yeah, we'll wait and see how it goes.
Absolutely. One final thing, there's a lot of talk at the moment of Liam Cooper. And obviously, it's been a weird summer for him. Kind of not officially left the club, but certainly not signed a new contract or anything. It looks like, as Ryan mentions, that there's a lot of talk of him going to Bulgaria, CSKA Sofia.
Yeah. I mean, it's a bizarre.
It's a football manager signing. It's almost like taking Matt Smith to Japan.
Who would do that? I can't imagine. Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those. I mean, you know, Cooper's been, you know, an unbelievable servant for the club, and it's a shame how it's kind of rumbled on this summer. It would have been nice to kind of get a bit of closure and resolution before the season starts. We put an offer on the table for him. He didn't accept it, but he's not agreed to go anywhere else. So it's just this kind of situation where he's kind of still a Leeds player. You know, it's like a rolling contract situation, I guess. Hopefully it'll get a conclusion. Hopefully we'll get to give him a good send off as well. But yeah, it could be. You know, let's hope it gets done sooner rather than later.
I think he's done as a player. What is he? 34 now. 33, 34.
I don't even. I think he's 32. Yeah, I don't think
he's 33.
I'd have had him in the squad. If he signed that contract, I'd be perfectly happy with that. If he was 4th choice, I'm absolutely fine with that. Absolutely.
Maybe he's made his money. Maybe he's just like. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it like maybe ends up on coaching staff at Leeds at like academy level. You know, you wouldn't.
Yeah, I'd love that.
Well, he's on the brink of signing a 2-year deal in Bulgaria, so in the future, perhaps, who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? I mean,
it's not going to happen, is it? You don't want to go to Bulgaria.
No, this is what it's all on like the Leeds Live and multiple other kind of sources at the moment, and it happens. You quite often see players, especially at this stage of the career. Why not? Like, why not move somewhere different, experience a new culture, a new lifestyle? You know, it's meant to be a really quite a nice country as well. Is Bulgaria? It's become quite the up and coming tourist destination in the last 5 or 10 years. So, look. If he does go for it, good luck to him.
He wants a bit of sunny beach. That's what it is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm sure it's a very nice country, but it's just not the greatest in terms of.
It might well offer him Champions League football as well. Think of that.
Okay.
Well, apparently he had an offer from Saudi last year. Did Cooper?
So clearly that's
Steve. You'll be getting an offer from Saudi soon.
Money isn't the draw then.
Oh, genuinely, you like they're just out to buy everybody. We'll all be going to Saudi in about 2 years to present.
We are available. We are available.
Are we?
Yeah.
And on that bombshell, that seems
predictions.
Like predictions for Leeds. Come on then, Leeds Burnley. Let's start with Gaz.
2-0 to Leeds.
Oh yes.
Stephen Downs.
4-1 Burnley.
Lewis Sale.
I'm just writing 4-1 Burnley. 1-0 Leeds.
Brownie.
2-0 Leeds. It's always dangerous when I'm optimistic. That's when
it is.
Goes wrong. That's when it all goes wrong. I'm telling you.
And because you've gone optimistic, I feel like I need to balance this out slightly. I'm gonna go.
Are you
ready?
I'm gonna go. What are you doing, Brownie? With stupid audio. 3-3. I'm gonna go like my first prediction. Let's go the same way. It's gonna be a humdinger of a game. 6 goals, 3-3.
Oof.
It's 3-3.
I'll be another 3-3.
And a dodgy Burnley penalty.
No.
Oh, no,
I might do
not-
my I might do my West Yorkshire bet this week. Actually, I know I've said about Huddersfield losing, but you know where I bet on all the West Yorkshire teams to win.
Oh,
Down
that's
to
not gonna happen,
Halifax.
how you said it.
Down to who've Halifax got this weekend?
They have got
favourites?
the weekend. They've got Eastleigh at home, who were second.
It's a risky one this weekend, Brownie. You lot got Burnley and Town got Bolton and we've got Walsall. It's a risky one.
That is a
Good
very
odds, though.
your,
Good odds.
your returns would be fantastic. It has to be said.
Might do it. Stick a quid on. See what happens.
And if
Roy.
Brownie's not on the show next week, we know that's come off and he's on holiday.
In Sunny Beach.
In
We live
Bulgaria, we live. Yeah, we live.
Absolutely. I carry his bags.
There we go. Let's wrap it up there. Then just a quick reminder on Wednesday night that Stephen Downs, that is, you'll be doing a Huddersfield Town show looking ahead to the game against Bolton. I think you're hoping to have a guest, aren't you, from the Bolton perspective on the show?
No, unfortunately, they're also recording
Find
their
another one.
they're recording their podcast on Wednesday. But
Unlike Town, mate, Bolton have more than one supporter.
wow, you're actually calling it out. Anyway, yeah, we should have Zach. We've also got a new Town fan coming on, hopefully, called Kane Hall, who supported the club for many years. And Cal's not answered yet, so hopefully he will.
Sounds like Cal's being phased out if you're getting replaceements on already.
No.
I love it how we're having an on-screen meeting about the schedule for this week.
This is what we do, Lou.
I was just trying to promote the shows for the guys, but this has
What
been a
a
little bit
peek
more
behind the
than
curtain, listeners. There you go.
This is
This is about as organised as we get.
Brownie, you and Joe be back on Thursday night with a lead show?
Potentially not, because Jay. Well, actually, he's back in. He's back Wednesday, I think, isn't he, Jay? So he's had the absolute.
Yeah, you're not helping. Like,
Can we cut this bit? Can we just cut this bit?
There might be a Town special on Wednesday. There might not. There might be a Leeds special on Thursday. There might not.
I'll do the Bradford City special Gaz with you on Friday.
We will be doing something Leeds United related on Thursday.
There we go. That'll do. And the one thing that is for certain is the lads will be back on Monday for the.
We might not be. Who knows, people? We'll let you know.
Keep an eye on socials. Follow us on there if you haven't.
Get in touch, everyone. Do you want to see us back on Monday? Because you might decide it.
I think we should do a Twitter vote and see who people want back. And
I think that is far too risky.
I think that's very dangerous, Mr. Downs.
Very risky.
It is for Steve. It is for Steve.
Right, this has been the scruffiest wrapping up of the show I think we've probably ever done. In the end,
we are presenting it.
That's Rich coming for but it's just been hijacked into a board meeting. So let's end on that. Keep a check on the social media. We are, of course, on X. We are on Facebook as well. Now, you might think you've already liked us on Facebook. We have got a new Facebook page because Brownie got the last one banned. I'm just going to out him for that one. So
Cheers,
Brownie banned. So there is a new The West Yorkshire Football Show. You can tell it's new because Downsy included the word "the" at the start of it. So do find that on Facebook. Give us a like. We're on course on YouTube. If you're not subscribed to the channel, do like and subscribe. And we'll be back next week with the Monday Night Show and possibly some shows before then as well. For myself and the rest of the lads, though, enjoy the rest of your evening and we'll see you soon on the West Yorkshire Football Show.